So this is the first off-roader that I built in Scrap Mechanic, and it honestly doesn't look that great. It doesn't even off-road that well either, to be perfectly honest. And this is the second off-roader that I built, and it works a little bit better, but it's really laggy, and again, it only marginally looks better. And that's pretty much all the off-roaders that I've built, which is kind of pretty bad actually, so I've decided to go ahead and build another one. And I'm building a Jeep Wrangler because, like, why not? So I've built the grille and it looks somewhat decent, I guess. And now I'm just gonna start working my way backwards. I've got something of a hood down, and now I'm gonna work on the windshield. That looks pretty good, I'd say. I think I've sort of finalized the front grille at this point. So we've got the little winch at the front here, which I might actually remove that to aid the off-road performance, but for now I guess it's staying there. And I've started on the wheel arches, as you can see, and I also have the little angle on the windshield. So now I'm gonna work my way backwards. So I've got a bit of a cab going now. I've inserted the seats and I'm gonna start working on the back section. Okay, so I guess this is the chassis that I'm going with. So this is what the front end looks like. I've kept the winch for now, but like I said, it doesn't really look like a winch, and also it looks slightly out of place, and if it hinders the off-road performance, then I will remove it. Anyway, we've got rather large wheel wells, and the wheels will be sitting quite lower than this, so that's also going to help with the ground clearance. And then as for the back, we've got a spare tire, and behind that we have some lights, and that's about it. Then on the top here we have a few thrusters, and then some aesthetic bits and a chest, just to sort of fill up the space a little bit. I was gonna put a resource collector back here because they look sort of industrial, but resource collectors are even width and this creation is odd width. Also, I realized that I built it slightly smaller than I sort of wanted to, and so the seats on the inside are a little bit cramped, but I think the proportions will work out perfectly fine. Looking at it from this angle, it does feel longer than it should be, which is what I feel like about most of the cars that I build. They tend to be longer and not as wide, but you know what? It's perfectly fine. Okay, so I've just been doing a couple finishing touches to the general design, and I think the body is at a satisfactory level now, so I guess I can start working on the star of the show, which is the suspension. So this is the sort of suspension that I'm thinking of going with. Now I am going to tweak this a little bit to add a little bit of space between the wheel and the suspension setup, so that way I can include a dual drive mode, which I'll explain what that is later. But if you're wondering what this basically is, there's a bar attaching the two wheels together, so they're not fully independent, but as you can see they can flex independently. And what that bar allows for, let me just put this back down to like normal. What that allows for is that when you turn, now there's like a physical bar connecting the two wheels together, so when you add more weight to it, the wheels will not collapse, which if they weren't connected like this, they would have a slightly higher chance of collapsing. Now with a lightweight vehicle like this, it's really not necessary, and if it adds too much lag, then I will remove it because, like I said, it's not necessary. But for now it's staying, and it also looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to try and make some space in between the wheel and suspension system for the dual drive. So again, I've got the same steering bar setup, except this time there's some extra space between it and the wheels, and that is to accommodate for my dual drive. Then we've got adjustable ride height, as you can see with the bearings on top of the suspension, and then we've got dual drive, as you can see right there. So now they've locked in, and now we're on electric engine mode, and if I unpress number 2, now we're on gas engine mode, and you can see we're going a lot faster. And I've also got some lower level engines back here for engine noise, and they're spinning those little bits there. Now the back suspension won't need to be nearly as complicated because I don't need this steering bar. Now for the back suspension, I'm going to be going with something slightly different. I'm going to use double wishbone, which I haven't actually done in a while, so let's hope this goes well. So I've just built up the rear double wishbone suspension, and I have no idea if it's actually going to work or not. So let's just find out, I guess. And it looks like we do actually have some suspension flex. That feels a little bit stiff as of right now, so let's go ahead and lower it by 1 notch. Also, that's not great right there. That is the very thing that I have tried to avoid with this whole steering mechanism, and it appears to just completely not be working. Anyway, I've got a little bit of a steering thing going on back here, where essentially right now it's only front wheel steering, as you can clearly see. But when I flick number 3, in theory, I haven't tested this out, but in theory it should now start steering at the back as well, and that is completely the wrong way around. So let's go ahead and reverse these two bearings, and now it should be perfectly fine. Now we need to make these a lot faster, so let me go ahead and do that. Oh, I've just realized this is just the complete opposite of what I need. I just made it worse. Hold on, all of these need to be reversed now, and there we go. So now I can turn a lot sharper, and I can also turn average if I just disable that little feature. So yeah, we have some pretty good suspension flex on both sides, as you can see. Now I did have to get rid of the dual drive on the back because there just wasn't enough space. The vehicle simply isn't quite wide enough to accommodate for that, which is quite annoying, but I guess it is what it is. Okay, you know what, I've given it a bit of thought. I don't think the dual drive is worth it because you're not really gonna need to use it that much, and the sacrifices are quite large in this case. So I think I'm gonna get rid of it as much as it hurts to do. Okay, so I've recentered the wheels because somehow I managed to mess up both of them, but now they're nice and centered. And when driving around on flat terrain, it really does drive quite nicely. The rear double wishbone absorbs basically every bump, and you can see by the ride inside the cab, my guy is barely moving at all, and that's how you tell that the wheels are absorbing pretty much all the impact that there is. Also, I'm gonna remove the hook. It just kind of doesn't look like it belongs, to be honest. The rest of the winch can stay though. It doesn't look like a winch, but it looks like something. Also, I think it's safe to say this thing is not high centering anytime soon, but if it ever does, we do always have the adjustable ride height, which I just realized that I've completely screwed that up when I replaced the back wheels. Oh god. There we go, that's a lot better. Alright, so let's do a quick test on terrain like this, and I mean, yeah, needless to say, it pretty much handles all of it perfectly. There is a slight bit of camber, as you can see on the back wheels as it gets pushed into a corner, but that's just sort of a thing that happens with double wishbone suspension. It's not much you can do about it. It shouldn't happen, but scrap mechanic being scrap mechanic, it still happens.
2 days later.
Okay, so it has been 2 days since the last recording, and the reason why I wasn't recording for those 2 days is because I don't have the storage space for all that video, and so I'm just gonna skip to the final product, which is right here. This is the Jeep Wrangler that I've been working on for absolutely ages. Now you might notice that it is completely different in terms of suspension. I'll go over that later. In terms of the actual body, it's pretty similar. As you can see, I removed the pivoting windshield because it took up an extra block that wasn't needed, so I got rid of that entire section and just made it one block shorter. And that, combined with the extra wheel wells and the extra wheel thickness, so that means 4 extra blocks of width and 1 less block of length, means that the aspect ratio is now somewhat decent. It no longer feels too long to me. Maybe I've just been staring at it too long and it is in fact still too long, but for me it feels perfectly fine. Anyway, that's all I changed in the body. As you can also see, we've got some downforce, which are not necessary for it to function at its best, but I've got the option, and I've also got some more forwards thrust so that I can make up for some of the speed that this thing lacks. Now let's look at the suspension. So I got the idea for this design from David Baguetta, and I basically modified it a whole bunch so it would fit this vehicle a little bit better. So for starters, we've got the suspension pieces here, and then they go into bearings, of course, so that means that these two wheels are relatively independent. They're still sort of affected by each other, but not entirely. Anyway, as you can see, the two sections from here are in fact connected to each other, so it works the same way as the previous suspension, except the steering mechanism is completely different, and it's sort of hard to explain. You just have to see it working. Anyway, the rest of this section is all the dual drive. That's right, I did bring back dual drive, and I brought it back in a way that makes it 10 times better and adds another bit of functionality that I'll show later. So anyway, here we have the 3 engines for the dual drive, and then back here we have a level 1 and level 4 engine, which combined together makes a really nice engine sound. Then we have the AD converter, and over here you can see we've got double stacked bearings so that I can turn both ways in my toggleable rear steering, which is over here, just like so. And then on the back we've got the same dual drive setup, and then we've got the little piston which extends downwards for extra suspension travel. And yeah, apart from that, everything else is pretty much the same. So now let's go over what all of these different buttons do. So number 1 is the same thing as before. It uses those 4 bearings to add a little bit of extra ride height. I'd say it's about a block or so, maybe a little bit less. But anyway, that's what number 1 does. Number 2 is to toggle rear wheel steering. So right now, rear wheel steering is not active, but when I press number 2, it is. And as well as that, you might notice that the wheels are abnormally thick. That's for some extra traction, and also, as you can see, there's some concrete welded inside the wheels. I got that idea from David Baguetta as well, but that, as you can imagine, helps the wheels stay sort of glued to the ground. It doesn't make too big of a difference, but you know, it's something. And it also brings the center of gravity nice and low. Number 3 are those 4 thrusters in the back. Number 4 is a dual drive system. So if I press number 4, you can see that everything sort of interlocks, and if you sort of try and visualize this in your head, you can sort of get an understanding of how exactly the dual drive works. So when it's locked, this bearing, which is driven by the electric engine, spins this gear which is hooked into the wheels, which in turn spins the wheels, and this bearing is hooked into the gas engine, which spins the wheels directly. Now when dual drive is not active like it is right now, this electric engine just spins the gear, which does nothing, and the gas engine spins the wheel, which moves the vehicle. But when it is active, the electric engine spins the gear, which spins the wheel, and the gas engine has no impact because the electric engine has more torque than the gas engine, so it overpowers what the gas engine is trying to do. And so basically you've switched over to electric engine mode with a slight bit of gas engine assistance, but you won't really notice it that much / at all, because like I said, the gas engine has less torque than the electric one. And so I've got 2 bars pushing into the little gears. I could do it with just 1 like I had it originally, but I decided to make it 2 for some extra stability because I was having some reliability issues when I just had 1. And also I need this little piston here as a no collision block for the little bar and the little gears to pass through. And the added benefit of that is that I can have a whole bunch more ride height, just like so. So the combined total is quite a lot of ride height, and the difference between the piston and the bearing one is that the piston also gives you some added suspension flex, as you can see. As well as suspension flex, it moves the entire suspension and steering assembly away from the wheels themselves, which gives you even more ground clearance, because with just the bearing one, the whole suspension setup sort of stays where it is relative to the wheels, meaning things can still get caught up in these pipe pieces, whereas when I press number 6, now nothing can get caught in the pipe pieces unless you're in some really gnarly terrain. Anyway, number 5 is the automatic self-righting mechanism, which I'll get into later. Number 7 is the down thrust. Number 8 are all the lights, and number 9 is the radio. Now let's talk about the self-righting mechanism. Now if I can flip this thing over, that would be quite nice, though in my experience it has been quite difficult to flip over with the lift. As you can clearly see, the thing really doesn't like flipping over very much at all. Okay, you know what, I give up. Instead of trying to flip it over like that, I'll just activate all the ride height and then activate 4-wheel steering, and that should be a pretty sure way to flip the thing over. There we go. So now that it's flipped over, I'm going to press number 5, and based on these sensors around it, it will automatically decide which pistons to fire to flip us back. Now it's not foolproof. If you're in gnarly enough terrain, it will be like to the point where the sensors don't have a full understanding of your surroundings and it will just fire the wrong pistons, or the pistons themselves just aren't physically capable of self-righting. So in those situations you've sort of messed up quite a bit, and obviously you can't design a vehicle that's sort of immune to human error, so that's just not entirely something I can deal with. But 9 times out of 10 it will end up flipping you back over if you do end up flipping badly. And oh my god, that is not entirely intentional. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I don't know why that happened, but welcome to scrap mechanic pistons, I guess. Anyway, now that we've gone over the controls, let's just admire this thing's suspension flex. So what I'm gonna do is put it into electric engine mode, so the gears are locked in, and now we are in electric engine mode. Then I'm gonna activate ride height number 1, then ride height number 2, which doubles up as suspension travel, and then we're just gonna hold W and watch this slow and controlled climb up this hill. How every wheel independently sort of molds to the terrain, and they're just sort of glued to these rocks. And I'm not even looking where I'm going, I'm just holding W, and the thing is absolutely shredding. It's like not even a competition. I mean, come on. It's so satisfying. And the thing is, I can just activate my 4-wheel steering and then turn like almost on a dime, and then I can just absolutely gun it. Like, I don't even need an electric engine, I can just sort of oh my god, it's so good. And the best part about this suspension setup is that it's so bloody resilient. Most double wishbones or other types of suspension setups, you will pretty much always find a way to glitch the wheels into the frame or glitch pipe pieces into each other. I have driven this thing off jumps, into ledges, I've gone full speed directly into a log, hitting the wheels first, I've done jumps, I've done drops, I've done everything with this vehicle to try and get something to break, and it's just not happened. And the very few times that it has happened, I've found a solution for it. For example, when I had only 1 bar for the dual drive system, I found that it failed once, then I gave it 2 bars, and it's never failed since. It's so foolproof. Oh my god. And look, normal suspension from that jump, they would totally just get demolished, but this thing, dual drive still works, we still have full suspension flex and ride height. It's such a resilient suspension setup, it's so good. And that combined with the really weighty, grippy, wide wheels and the overall good aesthetic by my standards means that this is pretty much the best vehicle that I've ever made, hands down. And also the engine sounds are I mean, it's such a nice touch. I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna pretty much, okay, well, I'm gonna not hit that, but I'm pretty sure I can shred this thing without my extra ride height or my electric engine. I mean, it is quite a versatile suspension setup, let's be real here. And another thing about the steering mechanism, I'll get you a closer look here. The thing that it does is that it pulls one side of the wheel closer to the inside and pushes the other side away, as you can see. And the benefit of that is that it sort of stays inside the wheel well, unlike the last version, which sort of just moved it around and it was flopping around and it was colliding with all sorts of parts of the wheel well. And overall, if you're building tight wheel wells in off-road vehicles where there's a lot of suspension travel, then you're gonna want some sort of advanced steering mechanism like this so that it can actually cope. And that's exactly what I've done, and it was a great decision. Although I do want to give a big thank you to David Baguetta for some huge inspiration for this suspension setup. It's absolutely amazing. Anyway, enough of the vanilla cores, let's hop over to this absolutely massive off-road track. Now you might recognize this from Scrapman's video. He made a video on this track a while ago showcasing a bunch of workshop creations, and it's such a versatile track and it tests multiple parts of a vehicle, so I'm going to run this vehicle through it, and there will be a link in the description to where you can get this map for yourself. Okay, so let's start going this way because I'm pretty sure this is the way you're supposed to go. And yeah, so now these bumps right here, relatively speaking, no vehicle is gonna be perfect at these. I mean, they're near spikes, and the fact that we don't even high center on this, that in and of itself is a bit impressive. But yeah, it just sort of monster truck its way over all of that. Anyway, we have a little jump section here. That was a terrible jump, but anyway. This is the part where this vehicle shines, because if I put it into electric engine mode, look at how stable that is. I mean, that suspension is just doing its work right there. Anyway, for the rest of it, just to say one time, I'm not gonna go into electric engine mode because I don't really need to. If anything, I'm gonna activate the thrusters. Nice, you already can get some speed if you activate the thrusters. Anyway, the toggleable rear wheel steering, Such a nice touch for these corners. Having toggleable rear-wheel steering has made me realize just how much I've been missing out on when it comes to all the cars that I've built that don't have toggleable rear-wheel steering. Anyway, this section is not really much of a problem. Then we have some more humps. I feel like the designer of this map, anywhere where there isn't something going on, they've just put a bunch of humps there. And it's quite nice, it helps fill the space. Anyway, this section is just basically nothing to this vehicle, let's be real here. It has so much suspension travel. Oh, low-level pistons actually work surprisingly well as suspension. You guys should definitely try it out. It's great for survival as well, because if you ever attach pistons to your wheels, it takes less component kits and you get more travel as well as more ride height. Okay, this part requires a little bit of precision, so let's try not to go too quickly. Okay, we made it. Take the berm, I guess, or not. I guess we don't need to. That's another thing I like about this map, the berms. If your vehicle doesn't have the turning radius like this thing does, you can always just rely on the berms to take you through a corner. Okay, this part is gonna be really satisfying with the extra travel. Oh yeah, look at that. Those wheels are doing some work right there. They're so attached to the rocks. We got a little U-turn here, and then we have some more bumps and stuff. This course really does put vehicles to the test, doesn't it? I'm just gonna gun it full thrust, full speed through this section and see what happens. Oh god, this feels like a bad idea. Nope, never mind. The suspension does not care. It doesn't even... Okay, maybe it cares about that one. Not to worry though, because I can just turn that off, and then... There we go, perfect. We're all good. Alright, let's turn the thrust back on so we can get through this a little bit faster. This section right here, I don't know why it exists. I mean, there's no collisions, there's not really much of a point. Let's just go through here, let's get some bit of speed for this section. Nice. Oh yeah. It's just, okay, that was a bit of an issue. Let's try and not go off the end, that would be a bad idea. Okay, that was a bit of user error. I was not going straight enough and I was fully flooring it. Not a great idea, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, right, let's go here. Let's take that jump and then flip. Nice. It's fine though, because we can always just get back on our feet, or rather back on our wheels. Let's activate four-wheel steering so we can pull that 180 a bit faster. Okay, and we're back in business. Let's activate some extra ride height for this. Yep, absolutely demolished. Doesn't even care. It's such a satisfying vehicle to just watch the suspension do its work. Just navigate through these. Let's take an optimal line through this section, even though I don't really need to with the suspension. And then these trees, which I'll just activate my extra travel, and I should be fine here. There we go, look at that. Nice. Considering that was a gas engine, that is pretty impressive. Okay, I've somehow managed to expertly weave my wheels directly in between those sections. As you can tell, I have gone through this course a few times, so I've destroyed part of it, which is slightly annoying, but it's fine. This is one of the main sections where I tested the vehicle. I just sort of floored it at this little section and made sure the suspension survived. And it appears we're struggling, so let me just engage the electric engine and then sort of shimmy our way around a little bit. And oh wow, look at that position. Oh, hold on, let's take a look at this. I think this would make a great thumbnail right here. There we go. Okay, right, so screenshots out of the way. Let's just power our way through the rest of this area. Perfect. Just doesn't even care. Well, it cared a little bit about that bit, but okay, that was just bad on my part. Maybe taking a corner at full speed with four-wheel steering was a bad idea. But it's fine though, because we can always just flip ourselves back over. This part right here, let's engage the electric engines and just admire how effortlessly and smoothly it's crawling its way along. Oh yes. What, some more humps here? Do we have a slight issue with the wheels? Oh, we do! Oh, I managed to break it somehow. Damn. Oh, I see the issue. This is actually an old version of the vehicle. I don't think I saved the latest version. Damn, okay. Let me go ahead and update this to the latest version real quick. So we just delete these two pipe pieces, and then we delete the rest of these pipe pieces like so. Then weld these together, grab a level 2 piston, put it on there, and then make sure everything's painted now because it's going to be harder to paint it later. Then I'll weld on one wheel, and then I'll weld on the other wheel. Then I hook everything up, make sure the settings are right, hook up the wheels and the dual drive, and then make sure they're all doing the right thing. There we go. So dual drive works, electric engine mode, gas engine mode, and then ride height. There we go. So now, as you can see, the change that I made is I essentially moved the pipe pieces that my crosshair are on over to the left one. So now this pipe piece that my crosshair is on is no longer able to collide with it and get stuck in it. That's a change that I made a while ago, but I guess I didn't save it, so I'll save it now. Then I'll make sure the updated version is on my lift, which it in fact is. So now I can continue the course with the actual newest version of the vehicle and not like a random version that didn't get saved properly. Okay, so with that slight spanner in the works out the way, let's get on with the rest of the course. Okay, this section is going to be interesting. Oh my god, okay. It's all good. Because of these heavy wheels, it's also really good at just naturally getting back on all four wheels. This would make a great thumbnail as well, but it's a bit bad lighting wise. Okay, so this section right here is something that pretty much no car can absolutely nail, but this thing can definitely do it pretty well. It's not as stable as it possibly could be, but come on, I mean, this is still pretty damn good. This off-road course must have taken so long to make, by the way. And this section of rocks right here actually has collisions, which makes me wonder why the maker of the map didn't make that section of rock the same as this one, because that one's just sort of useless. They don't have collisions. Anyway, the last little bit is here. Let's activate electric engine mode and just admire this vehicle. Oh, it's so stable. And the last little bit. Whee! Nice. Landed it. This is an absolute dream to drive around. It was a ton of fun to make, a ton of fun to record. Probably won't be that much fun editing, but you know, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time, hopefully. See ya.